Hi, and welcome to this market analysis video for Monday, October 31, 2016. I'm Michael Newrock from TradersElite.com. Great to have you here. Before anything else, happy Halloween for those of you that celebrate. I myself had the whole house, the front of the house decked out to lure in trick-or-treaters, and we had about 100 kids visit. It was a lot of fun. We had everything from the creepy music to the cauldron of spiders, snakes, and sweets, and it was great to see those little ones light up. Anyway, we're going to go over the charts and see what's shaking, see the good, the bad, and the ugly. There are some trade setups that I think will form this week that could provide us some potential great pips. We've got a bunch of trades from last week and the week before, even, that are still in play and well in profit. We've got the dollar CAD long, we've got euro yen, which we're long on as well. Both of those have hit targets and we're trailing the action. We've got Euro Aussie that also has hit its first target, Euro Kiwi, and the Euro. So let's take a look at those as well. Now, for those of you that are just joining for the first time, I just want to bring to attention that we've got three indicators shown on all of these charts at the same time. We've got these horizontal lines, which are macro levels. If you haven't used them, please do. Of course, they're available to you as a premium member. They really give us a really clear idea of support and resistance, and these are major support and resistance that institutions use. They're based on weekly and monthly timeframes. They don't change very often. So, of course, you're going to see support and resistance of recent highs, recent lows, that kind of thing when you're trading, especially on the shorter time frames. But they're extremely valuable, and it's really important to use them alongside any other strategy that you're using. We've got the small arrows here that are that's the price flip indicator. Now this is a reversal pattern, so you can see here it's great for scalping, great when you're using it in association. For example, these three here, when they're in line with a overall trend, and when they're positioned, near or close to a macro level. And of course, we've got these big arrows here, which are trend catcher. Now, you can see that, just going back here, we've got some. That's a nice one there, of course, as well. So anyway, let's get into it. We're on the 4-hour chart here. Currently, it's it's moving upwards. You can see, potential trend line forming here, just two 2 points. Okay, it's good when you have at least three, but two is, you've got a short term on the 4-hour trend line that's formed there. Uh, if we look at the daily, we can see as well. Actually, just get rid of this just to avoid any confusion. We're up on the daily. We've got a new trend trade that's formed, and on the weekly, we have seen a recent downward move on the weekly time frame. However, we have been issuing longs on gold, and the reason was that this giant drop a couple of weeks back was, to us, it was inevitable that it was going to move upwards, which it has. And right now we can see the battleground at 1284. So, right now we're looking at maybe getting involved on shorter time frames. This is the 1 hour. This is an emerging trend trade. When this candle closes in just over half an hour, we can see a confirmation of it. So this one would be actually a pretty decent one to catch. Right here, so let's say it closed hypothetically, just a little bit higher. It's always good to see a little bit of momentum, and we've got around 300 pips or $3 on the gold price for a stop, positioning our stop just below that crossover point, and we've got to the next macro level. We've got almost 700 pips or $7 in the gold spot price. So that would be a fairly reasonable one to catch, and we may take a look at that further on. We've had a recent swing to the upside with just the previous bar, so that gives me clues that another confirmation that there's a possibility of this price moving up. We do need to see it close over 1284.27 if we want to see it rise any further upwards towards the 1307, which is very possible. We are now in a daily upward trend, so it's going to be interesting to see how that unravels. We have been long on gold from around this 1255 level, so it's just a matter of taking the opportunities that you can see. Hopefully by now you are using your indicators. The combination of these indicators is very powerful. We only issue a fraction of the signals that come out every week, but by using the indicators, you can have access to opening up many more trades, throughout the course of the week. Okay, euro. We're currently long on the euro. We've seen a 4-hour trend trade occur here. This one was a nice price flip here, and we've seen it just nudge up against this 10992 macro level. So we need to see it push further now. If it does close above this macro level, then we could, certainly see the possibility of price moving up to 110.98. So on the 4-hour, we're up. On the daily, it's towards the tail end of this downward move. However, it's in this steep upswing. So we saw price flips here, and again, we're seeing resistance at that 109.92. But if it closes next hour and a half on the daily at around where it is, then we're going to have a new daily price flip, and that may give confidence to the bulls to push the price further up. On the weekly, it is technically in a downward, but it's not very pronounced. So once again, we're currently up on or long on the euro. If it finds resistance here, then we may find that it ends up going range bound. But for now, we're long. Okay, pound. Pound has been very subdued. Technically, we're in an upward trend trade here. So it's again not very pronounced. Not the best looking setups, but it really is in this oversold zone, and the risk reward is really good. So if it closes in the next again hour and a half on the 4-hour, then what are we looking at? We 60 to 70 pips for a stop, and around 220, 230 pips for a target just prior to this 124.82 macro level. Again, if it pushes above this, then we could see it moving up to 128. If it finds resistance here, then we may have to reconsider, and it may move downwards. But for now, we're long on the euro on the pound. Sorry, daily. Now this is interesting. Over the next over this candle, which is closing in an hour and a half, and tomorrow we may see a crossover. If we don't, then it is still under pressure on the daily, so we could see actually a move down, towards this 117, 118 level. So there is risk of a move down. If you are going to play, and here's the weekly, again, you can see very much still in the midst of this downward move, which has been going since August 2015. Broken here, but then re-emerged as a new downward trend. So we are seeing it at very low levels, and if the risk reward is there, then there could be an opportunity for it. This one was too far away from the crossover, so we may see a bit of a correction here. But if this closes around here, we've got a nice risk reward, small stop, big reward. Okay, euro pound. Euro pound on the 4 hour is technically up, but it looks like a possibility of changing. We've got this macro level at 0.8940 that's been showing or giving the pair some support. It's rallied previously, and since then it has really been going nowhere. But on the daily, we're still in the midst of this upward move. Okay, we saw this downward trend trade occur, but it's since been broken. And on the weekly, we can see that it's still very much in the middle of this upward move. So for now, it's just a matter of finding an opportunity. This macro level at 0.8940 may provide that opportunity. So a price flip combined with this macro level, may see a nice move up towards this 90.83 level. And again, um, it's important to keep your stop is quite small. So let's say it came down to around 89.50. You'd probably want to have your stop at around 30 pips thereabouts, and the potential for profit there is around 120 pips to that next macro level, which is what, a 4-to-1 reward to risk. Okay, pound Swiss on the 4 hour, it's a bit hard to to tell at this stage. Price has moved above both moving averages, and that's why I say that. So it's giving us, we're definitely in a 4 hour upswing, and it's been going fairly sideways, trend wise, no real trend. On the daily, no crossover as yet, but when you see both moving averages move in, unison parallel to each other like this, then all it really needs is an upward move here, and we could see some movement upwards. However, it's pretty much a reverse correlation to the euro pound. So if the euro pound moves up, then be aware that the pound Swiss may very well move down. On the weekly, it's very much downward. So it's a bit hard to tell on this one. So we'll stay on the sidelines for now. If we get a crossover here, then certainly there could be some movement to the upside. And again, small risk for a high reward. Let's say the price closed at around 121.60. Crossover has occurred. Your stop could be around that 100 pips, and reward at around 450, 460. Now, when I say reward, place your targets close to or just prior to the macro levels, it's important to lock your profits as you go. Okay, and there's nothing wrong with having a intermediary target, say around here, and that would still provide a good risk reward. You've got 100 pips on your stop roughly. You could set your first target around here. You've got 250 pips, so that's 2.5 to 1 reward to risk. And lock in your profits, particularly if you're trading with two positions. If you're not trading with two positions, if you've only got a single position open, in other words, then these are points where you can lock in some profits, and at least move it to break even. Okay, Aussie, it's the AUD USD. We've got a new 4 hour trend trade to the upside. However, it hasn't closed yet, so it can't be confirmed. And the slow moving average is moving downward, so it's not one that I would be interested in looking at. On the 4 hour, it's really touch and go. It's been range bound between these two macro levels, 75.33 and 76.76, for quite some time now. And if we see price slip down today, then we could see a new daily trend trade to the downside form. On the weekly, again, it's been very sideways between these macro levels. So a little hard to tell at this stage. Overall short on the Aussie because pairs like the Euro Aussie, for example, that one of the trades that we're in at the moment long, means that that at the very least the Euro is more stronger than the Aussie. So we could see a bit of an effect with that, and the Aussie moving down. Kiwi, again, very difficult to tell. Both these pairs are difficult. This is the NZD USD, and right now technically 4 hour, but it's really neither here nor there. And price is telling us if it slips again below, we're going to get a new uh, trend trade to the downside. So there could be an opportunity to scalp the market on the daily. Again, take a look at it. This trend trade did not occur. We've seen some price slips that have seen price move back up towards the 71.76, and this is interesting. We've just had a new or just emerging new weekly trend trade. If this holds, in other words, the price, particularly if it comes down towards the 71.16 or lower, ideally, then we're going to get a new trend trade to the downside on the weekly time frame. That's pretty significant because it could certainly mean that for the next few weeks, if not longer, we could see some downward movement on the New Zealand dollar, which is certainly what the RBNZ, the Reserve Bank of New Zealand, is desperate to see. Okay, Aussie Kiwi. If we look at the daily, and we can see that at the moment it's just sitting just above 106.34. On the weekly, we're seeing a new upward trend trade. So this is in line with the Kiwi falling. I think the Kiwi will fall potentially quicker than the Aussie, and that's going to make this pair, the Aussie Kiwi, move up. So right now we're seeing a macro level in play. If we see some movement up towards here, it could be a good one to take. This one actually may be the strongest of the pairs that we've seen so far, other than the potential of the gold, or even the pound for now. It's got a really small risk to reward ratio. So if we see a crossover here, we've got the macro level of 106.34 behind us. We could see it move up towards 107.29. We've been long on the Aussie Kiwi for the last couple of months because it has been moving that way. Okay, dollar CAD currently long on this. We took this trend trade, beautiful trade, still in play. It's hit target 1, it's hit target 2. We're currently up for target 3, which is just prior to this 134.57 macro level. And right now is a great time to lock in some profits. Say around here, and this has just been a really nice trade. It's currently just over 250 pips in profit, so well done if you took this trade. Dollar Swiss, 4 hour, it looks like a possible reversal here. We were in the middle of an up amidst this 4 hour downward trend. On the daily, it's upward. Price has slipped below, but it is creeping back up. If it comes back up over the moving average and closes above that, that'll be great. If you're going long on this, and then again, what we want to see is price break and close above this 99.16 to give it any further merit for an upward move. It is in a weekly upward trend trade, so for now there's more of a possibility of it going up than down. Okay, dollar yen. This is an interesting one. We've been long on this for the last few weeks, and obviously this was a beautiful move up here. Since then, it's been fairly noisy. We had another nice move up here as a trend trade. These price flips were nice ones to catch as well. We've seen it stop right on that 105.41 macro level and give off a couple of price flips to the downside. Let's take a look. On the daily, we're very much in an upward move now. So this 105.41 is a key barrier to pass if we want to see dollar yen move any further. But the thing that I find most interesting about dollar yen right now is the weekly charts. And if you've been following these market analysis over the last couple of weeks, I've been saying that if we get a crossover, moving average crossover, which gives us a trend trade to the upside, then could be very significant. Last time this happened was, the last main one was, well, we We had these ones that have seen the dollar yen rally since 2012. So it is, quite significant. If we see 105.41 break, then this could be a fantastic trade to the upside, upwards towards 108.98 or even beyond. I mean, this rally could now see us move upward, back up to those previous highs, 124, 125. So I'm pretty excited about this particular pair, dollar yen. It's upward on the weekly, it's upward on the daily, and it's obviously failed, certainly at this stage, on the 4-hour downtrend. So, we could get another reversal. Let's take a look on the 1 hour. So it's obviously not the right time to get in now. You want to get in at the best possible time. 30-minute. Let's have a look at the 15-minute. Possibly the 15-minute. If we see a nice crossover here, denoting a new trend trade on the 15-minute, then it could be very nice. So we're looking at 15, 20 pips, not a lot, and around 50 pips to that macro level. If it breaks above that, I always suggest locking your profits. You can take hard targets. There's nothing wrong with that. That's fantastic. But if you can lock in your profits and you're happy with the profits that you've locked in, then that trade could move a lot further than you think. Again, if we see that move, this macro level break, then well, the next stop is really up towards that 108.98. Yeah, we have this previous high here at 107.46, but that's a couple of hundred pips from this macro level. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. We could get another correction to the downside. And at the moment, on the shorter term time frames, it is looking like moving down. But I wouldn't be seduced at this stage into trading or going short on the dollar yen. So it's just a matter of waiting for an opportunity now. Maybe a 1 hour price flip, maybe a 4 hour price flip, or maybe a shorter term trend trade to the upside to catch that. Euro yen, we're long on the euro yen. That's been a great trade as well. And this is in the 4 hour. It's right in the midst still of the 4 hour upward move. On the daily, very interesting as well. We're seeing a new trend trade form on this daily. And on the weekly, we're seeing not quite as pronounced a crossover that has just occurred on the dollar yen, but it's coming in close. So if we see price break and close above 115.66, then certainly we could see a new emerging trend trade to the upside on the weekly time frames from next week. And if this daily trend trade holds, again, if that key breaking and closing above 115.66 in the midst of a daily upward trend, and a new emerging weekly trend, that could be a really good opportunity. And as you can see here in the daily, 117, 119.80, 123.30. There's some huge potential here on on the euro yen, just like there is on the dollar yen. Pound yen, a little bit more subdued, but we're seeing some action happening this week from the Bank of Japan and figures that are coming out. So they are desperately wanting to keep their currency low as well. It is very much a game of first person to the bottom between the central banks of our planet these days. But getting back to the technicals, new emerging 4 hour trend trade occurring here to the upside. Daily, a subdued but a valid crossover has occurred. This is still emerging at this stage. It needs to close before we can confirm that in about an hour and a quarter. If it breaks 128.80, that could be very good for the bulls. And on the weekly, has been a very big, long downward move. But, we really are bottom of the chart. We're really down at that oversold level. So I would not be surprised if we see, particularly with the daily turning to an upward trend trade at the end of today potentially. Again, if we get that move above 28.28 or 128.28, that could be a really nice macro level trade up towards 133.48. I'll take a look at that personally myself to see if we should issue that. But all indicators are looking pretty positive for that. Upward on the 4 hour, upward on the daily, swing on the weekly, at oversold conditions. It all is provides good potential for a nice move. Even here, you've got 50 pips, you've got 500 pips on the reward. All that stands between you and that reward is this 128.80. So the other way to play it is to wait for price to break and close above 128.80 and then take it as a macro level. However, there is still uh, 50 pips, to that macro level. So you could play it cautiously, take the trade as the 4 hour trend trade, and at least move to break even or lock in some profits, and then cross your fingers for price to break and close above 128.80. If you do, then it could be a fantastic trade. Aussie yen just moving upward with a possible upward trend trade. We can see here that again it has been overall. Oops, let's get rid of that. Overall upward on the 4 hour charts. Get rid of that. Daily, we're in an upward move. We've broken and this 79.40 macro level. If it holds, over the next hour and a quarter, then that would be confirmed within this 4 hour trend trade. And if it doesn't give a price flip, even better. Then on the weekly, very interesting. This one has also turned into a weekly trend trade to the upside, so could be some good potential there. Although the Aussie is fairly subdued, so it's not my first pick. However, on the basis on the daily and the weekly, could be very good. Not by the strength of the Aussie, because at the moment it could actually be going down, and it certainly is against some other pairs. But on the weakness of the yen. Okay, Kiwi yen, slightly different. It is in that 4 hour trend trade, but it really depends. Once again, these levels are super important. If it breaks 75.10, then we could see a move to the upside, where we're in the daily upward trend, but it's looking risky for a potential new price flip to occur to the downside. If that happens, then we could see a move towards 74.26. And on the weekly, well, you can see crossover has occurred, but it hasn't really been validated because the MACD at the time was still below this horizontal line. That's why we're not seeing a big green arrow there. So I would be hesitant to trade this at the moment until we got further indication of which direction it's going. I would tend to think this one's going to be more range bound. Okay, Swiss yen, similar to the euro yen, 4 hour upward, daily upward, risk of a possible price flip that could see it move down temporarily. And then weekly, again, we're looking at a possible crossover at these oversold zones. Now, you'll notice that all the yen crosses are fairly similar, some more stronger than others. So it's just a matter of picking the stronger ones out of them, or the ones that are giving you a great risk reward ratio before going and entering a trade. CAD yen, CAD's been under pressure, particularly through pairs like the dollar CAD, which has been moving up, which means that it's been placing pressure on the Canadian. So on the 4 hour, fairly sideways. It hasn't been moving down in accordance with this trend trade to the downside. It really depends again on the 78.42, but all these yen pairs are looking at forming potentially a daily price flip. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. On the weekly, again, oversold, but we need to see this crossover occur. We need to see price move above 78.42. Otherwise, there's no deal. Okay, Euro Aussie currently we're long on this trade on the 4 hour. It is upward. It's just given an upward swing, so that's good. Temporarily, this candle has been going down, but we'll see how that goes. It's another hour and 10 minutes to see where that closes. And in trading, close is king. Daily, we're seeing that MACD is just broken above that horizontal line. We're seeing a fairly strong upward swing, but still technically in a downward move. And on the weekly, we're seeing this first upward swing followed by this price flip. So there could be a possibility for it to move upward. Profits have already been locked in on this. So if it comes back down, then that's trading. But at this stage, 4 hour open position, we're hopeful of it moving, continuing to move after this move. There's a couple of things going for it right now. We've got this swing that's just occurred here. We've got this new price flip that has just occurred. So we could see another move, and currently we're long on the Euro Aussie. Pound Aussie. Well, we are technically in a 4 hour upward trend. It's nowhere near as strong as the euro, but it is there. Daily, looking at a possibility of a crossover to the upside, a trend trade forming. 162.45 is the number to watch. And on the weekly, again, we're really at these oversold levels. We are in an upward swing, but it has been subdued. So, if the risk reward allows you to take a trade, then the possibility right now is temporarily is to the upside. So we've got about 60, 70 pips there and about 160 pips to just prior to that macro level. So there could be an opportunity with that. Euro Kiwi, we're also long on this, and it's been going well. Not really that significant, but if we see a move up, if we see 154.10 break, then it could be a fantastic trade, and we're currently well in profit. Middle of a upward swing. If MACD then crosses over and it's just about to do that on the horizontal line, then or the zero line here, the invisible line that separates the histograms above and below, then we could see a move above that 154.10. And Euro Aussie, the risk is still to the downside between the MACD and your moving averages here. And if we get a resistance at 154.10, but for now, we're still in the midst of this short-term 4 hour trend trade. Okay, pound Kiwi. This one's fairly interesting. If we see some strong downward moves on the Kiwi, and that may occur today, Reserve Bank of Australia is coming out with their new decision on their cash rates. A couple of other data events are coming out. So if we see a crossover here, then it may be a good one on the daily. We're in an upward swing. It's been going sideways, to be blunt, over the last week and a half. But once again, we're at these oversold levels, and on the weekly, same thing here, upward swing, but right at the tail end of this downward move, which is why I would be resistant, right now to go down or to go short on this pair. If we see resistance at 177.07, then that could be an opportunity. But right now, risk reward is really telling us that let's say it closes above here. We want to see some movement. We want to see this price flip negated, and it wasn't a very strong one either. But if we see it, let's hypothetically break above that wick at 170.140 thereabouts. We've got about 100 pips in the stop, which sounds like a lot, but these particular pairs, their pips, they use up a lot of pips, for lack of a better expression. But 100 pips for your stop, and 550 pips to the next macro level. We've got this consolidation zone around here, but there's plenty of room here for a great trade with a excellent risk to reward ratio. Okay, Aussie CAD been moving up again, not because necessarily of the strength of the Aussie, but because of the weakness of the CAD. Upward on the 4 hour, upward on the daily, as you can see here, and upward on the weekly. So it's upward everywhere where you look. We've got a new trend trade that's just occurred, price flip following that, or on the same bar actually as the trend trade. But again, you've got a good risk reward. Trading is all about risk and managing risk. Right now, we've got 30, 35, maybe even 40 pips for your stop, and you've got to your next macro level, which is what we like to always use for our targets. We've got about 140 pips, so could be a good one. EuroCAD, this is the heartbreak bittersweet story of last week. We took this price flip here. It was ideal, right up, sitting right above this macro level, very strong, very big wick. And in hindsight, I should have placed a slightly bigger stop. Typically, we like to place the stop just below the wick that's giving the price slip, but in this case, I placed it just around here, and it knocked us out by 3 pips. So like I said, bittersweet because it's now 210 pips up. I do know that members have taken this trade and are still in this trade because they either placed the stop a little bit bigger, or they got in a little bit late with the trade, or took it as a macro level when it bounced back up 145.10. And to those of you that are still in this trade, congratulations. It's in a quite a strong 4 hour trend trade. It's just started a new daily, a new price slip's going to occur here. So it could be another opportunity to get into EuroCAD. And on the weekly, it is technically up. So this one's really interesting because in just over an hour, we'll see a new price slip arrow point up, and another nice one right on the, found that support at that 146.44 macro level. So could be a good opportunity to move up towards 148.92. Other than that, it's possible to look at it, maybe for a correction back down towards that 146.44 macro level before getting involved. And pound CAD to finish off our analysis for this week, a little bit more subdued. Again, all of these pairs are moving upward due to the Canadian weakness, rather. Subdued daily upward trend, and on the tail end, really, of this giant weekly downward move. So we could see a move towards 167.24, but only if price breaks and closes above 164.71. All right, that's it. I hope that you've got some insights from today's analysis. You can see here, I'm just taking a look back at a couple of the pairs that we went through. The gold, it's starting to move back up on the same bar that we were looking at before. So on the 1 hour, 3 minutes, and it'll close. So this could be a good one. We've got a small risk and a decent size reward. So good risk reward ratio is what it's all about. So that may be another one that we issue. Pound possible there, even though it's subdued, it's worth the risk. And as far as the risk reward is really good. Euro we're already in. Euro pound and pound Swiss are fairly, zigzaggy, consolidatory at the moment. Aussie, too early to tell really on this one. Kiwi, not looking very, very strong. Aussie Kiwi could be the one to get involved in if you're looking at those pairs, possibly an upward move. We've got the macro level behind it, so that's good. Dollar CAD continuing to move up. No change on the dollar Swiss. dollar yen could be a great trade, and we're seeing a new 4 hour price flip occur here. So, there's a couple of ways of getting involved in this trade. And, once again, if it breaks that 105.41 level, then it could be fantastic because, you can see on the weekly here, we've got a lot of room to move here, back to those previous highs from beginning of the year and late last year. So with that, I will conclude this market analysis webinar. Until next time, good trading, live well, and I'll see you soon. And remember to use the indicators. They're really important and they will help your results.